If they running their mouth, then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge, now they back in the huddle. See, they know we can fight, new content every week. Me and Dr. Clyde, keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we're driven, and they know we ain't quitting. Yoshi and Dr. Winner, keep on bringing the energy. Unity. See, they know we ain't stopping, and they know they got problems, and they ran out of options. If they know we got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Bring back learning, Afrocentric history, we see tomorrow. Karma's karma, I say what I say out here underwater. Till I see I fall off, then I bring y'all up on note. I'm back up on my Clyde winners, 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 Divine Winters, Clyde Winters, Mind Bender, Clyde Winters, I'm Richard, ride with ya, master teacher, create masters, Clyde Winters, give respect to the elder, Clyde Winters. I feel somebody out there living for me. I told you somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me.
We have to live on God. We have to live on God. I have not done wrong. I have not robbed. I have not stolen. I have not drank. I have not told lies. I have not stolen food. I was not stolen. I have not fornicated with the fornicator. I have not caused anyone to weep. I have not dissembled. I have not transgressed. I have not discussed secrets. I have brought no lawsuits. I am not wrong. I have not struck kill. I have not transgressed the law. I have not been hunted. Except when I'm talking about on the tongue. I have not made extolling. I have not bragged. I have not cursed. I have not been violent. I have not confounded truth. I have not been impatient. I have not cursed against.
Dr. Winter's legacy is a testament to the power of knowledge and the unyielding spirit of exploration. His impact is felt worldwide, as he shares and enlightens at conferences, symposiums, and collaborative projects. His voice is a beacon in the academic world, challenging, inspiring, and always educating. His journey reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never-ending, and its impact is timeless. Dr. Winters teaches us to challenge the narratives and to learn with an open mind. As he always says, B1 is not a group, it's a lineage. Let his story inspire everybody to pursue knowledge relentlessly and to always seek the truth. Now let us welcome in the grandfather of research, the Trill OG himself, the Honorable Dr. Clyde Winters.
Let the researcher do the research. Oh, no. I don't get a kick out of telling lies. Let the researcher do the research. Oh, no. Spent years studying the ties. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah. Black first, with strength we rise. Yeah. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah. Unite in truth and kill the lies. the researcher do the research. I learned to debunk my own craft. Respect is all that I had. Dr. Witches. I was sent here to finish my task, to become the greatest researcher, and that's who I am. Dr. Witches. Yeah. Na 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 na. Let the research gotta tell it lies. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. I spent years studying the tides. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. Black first, with strength we rise. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. Unite in truth and kill the lies. Be one, be one, be one. Be one to win this
We have
fight.
to always
We must
remain
unite.
black
Stand up
first.
for the righteous and let your skin shine bright. Be one, be one, be one, be one. Lessons whispered at night.
You guys
What
funerals
up,
cost
though?
almost
What up,
15 grand.
though? What
I mean,
up,
you're looking-
though? How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining me for another Black History Gems. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for joining me for another Black History Gems. Today, we're going to have a discussion about the Meroitic Empire and the Kushana. The Meroitic Empire is a very important civilization because it's a civilization that the Black people developed back in the day. Yes, yes, yes. They developed this civilization back in the day. Because of the fact that they developed this civilization, they were able to shine light on our important experience in this African empire. Yeah, today in a sense, some people don't want to know about these ancient African civilizations, but it is important that we do know about these, because what we're doing is that we're dealing with an aspect of our history that people in a sense need to know about. And the reason people need to know about is that they need to know that we've accomplished more in life than you might see. I'd like to welcome Dorville. What up, though, Dorville? Greetings, brilliant first here for Dr. Winters. Yes, yes, yes. Dorville says Winters X is substantia nigra. Yes, yes, yes. The substantia nigra, for those of you who don't know, this is the substantia nigra. That's what they call, in a sense, your brain. Yes, this. Once they cut open your skull, and then they go into your brain, it's full of all these black cells, and it's these black cells, in a sense, that are called the substantia nigra, or the super nigra. I just call it super nigger. So your brain is a super nigger. Yes, yes, yes. And it's a super nigger, and this makes it awesome to know this knowledge, because see, we're living in a time when we need to know as much as we can. Again, I like to think about this whole idea of looking at African civilization, looking at Black civilizations, because see, the thing is this: there's nothing wrong. We don't really want to be called African, and one of the reasons that many FBAs, or Foundation of Black Americans, don't want to be called Africans is kind of silly, but it results in the fact that we are descendant of the Aboriginal people of the Americas, because we're descendants of the Aboriginal people of North America, and very few Black people came over here from Africa during the Atlantic slave trade. We prefer to be recognized as foundational Black Americans, and we call ourselves foundational Black Americans because we are the foundation. Yes, we are the foundation of these United States. Without us, it would not be a United States. We made all the great inventions, the great literature, Think about it. Well, it's some great literature the Europeans, some whites have done. But when you think about American leaders, you always think about in a sense who, W. B. Du Bois. You know, you think about the great writers. There's some white writers, but most of the time, in a sense, we're talking about black people, and that's the thing that we have to recognize. We have to recognize is that we've contributed much to the civilization. America would be nothing without us, and world culture. Yes, as I tell you every week, world culture is black culture. Why? Because world culture is like even me talking on this, talking through this computer. Do you know it was a black man in a sense who developed the program to allow us to be able to use the internet? You see, did you know it was a black man who invented the resistor, which is the major component in all type of electronic devices? You see, this isn't even taking into account the fact that we made the light bulb and we made, in a sense, the telephone work. So we are world civilization. Yes, we are world civilization because everything that exists that make man civilized today, we created it. Yes, we created it. It wasn't jointly created with Europeans, or what some people refer to as the Caucasian or the white man. No, we make these inventions on our own, you see. And because we made these inventions on our own, then we have to, in a sense, move away from this. A lot of times people talk about, menticide. Menticide, the structure in the brain. No, I'd rather just call it CAIDS. What is CAIDS? Culturally acquired immune identity deficiency syndrome. I prefer to call it CAIDS because when people catch CAIDS, they lose their identity. They lose their blackness. And as they lose their identity, as they lose their blackness, they're not able, in a sense, to relate to this, to what's going on in this known world. Again, I think I mentioned earlier that I'm teaching my research course. You can join my research course, and you can join it. And we meet every Tuesday. And you can join the research course. It's $599. Yes. For $599, you're going to receive 15 weeks of instruction how to do research so that you too can be a researcher.
Afrocentric Research Course.
You will learn how to interpret anthropological, historical, legal, genetic, and other forms of research literature. This is 30 hours of learning how to do qualitative and quantitative research methods. The course begins on April 16th. The class will be taught every Tuesday for 15 weeks. Join Dr. Winters' research class. Afrocentric Research Course. Become a researcher.
The course is $599. We've already began it, and usually I do it in April, but this time I decided I'd begin it, this around this time. So join my class. All you have to do is go to gumroad.com, Clyde Winters, look up my Afrocentric history class, and you can learn how to be a researcher. Many of the people who've joined my class later have published books, they've written articles, and things like that. So I want you too to join my class. I want you to get this information, and you too to contribute to our understanding of the world. Okay, so again, we're talking about the Meroitic Empire. So let's kind of get started. The Meroitic Empire and the Kushana. Yes, the Meroitic Empire and the Kushana. This is a very important. I deciphered the Meroitic. I deciphered the Meroitic language years and years ago. One of the things that led to me being able to decipher it is that I tried to, in a sense, make sure that I looked at just about every aspect of these people, their culture, and their civilization. And as a result, I was able, in a sense, to decipher the Meroitic, language and the language of the Meroitic people and stuff, Again, you can go to my Patreon once I Once we get through with this presentation, I'm going to put the slides in my Patreon. Please join my Patreon. My Patreon is $5 a month. Yes, $5 a month. But this $5 a month goes a long way in terms of helping me to do the research, helping me to, in a sense, be able to present to you every week, new and important research relating to our history, culture, and civilization, you see. Because, see, by becoming a member of my Patreon, you finance and you support this research. You support, in a sense, the ability for me to be able to come to you with the latest research. A lot of times the latest research is behind paywalls. And that means you have to have monies to purchase the ability to read these articles that are behind a paywall. Or I have to buy new books. I'm able to do this because of you, yes. I'm able to do this because of my Patreon. Please join my Patreon, $5 a month. Right now you're on my YouTube channel. On this YouTube channel, I have over 500 videos. Yes, 500 videos. Some short, some long, but they deal with every aspect of Black history. Don't just come here to see my Thursday program. Come here, whenever you have the opportunity, so you can check out my videos on Black history. It's especially necessary now because we've got a president in there and we've got an administration whose aim is to make sure that Black people don't know their history, that no one knows the history of our people. I've spent over 40 years doing research into our history and making videos just for you, family. Yes, just for you. Check out my videos. Tell your friends, tell your family members to look at my videos so they too will know their history, So always come here and check them out. You can order my books on Amazon at Amazon.com. Let the researcher do the research. Yes, let the researcher do the research. Some of the books that can help you to become a researcher are Pathfinder, Clyde Winters in Search of the Roots of Afrocentrism, a memoir, and Afrocentric Researcher. In these books, I discuss, in a sense, how to do research and how I did the research and how you too can be the researcher and the steps in being a researcher and stuff like that. I've also, today we're talking about the Meroitic language. I've written a number of books on the Meroitic language, including, Meroitic writing and literature, the Meroitic Chamber Fillet. The Meroitic Chamber Fillet, that's a nice little book because what I do in that, I discuss the Fillet Chamber, which has tons and tons of Meroitic inscriptions and also drawings that relate to their culture. And then I did a book on the king, the prince of, in a sense, the Kushites, Akhenaten, and so I want you to get these books. If you're also interested in understanding more, get my book on archaeological decipherment. And this book, what I did is that I showed how, in a sense, I was able to decipher many ancient languages due to my knowledge of ancient writing systems and what our ancestors have told us. Get this book. And if you're really interested in understanding why and how I can read the Meroitic script and how you too can read the Meroitic script, get my book, Meroitic Relations with Tocharian and the Nile Valley Languages. In this book, I document how I decipher Meroitic and how you too can read it. So when you get the book, Meroitic Relations with Tocharian and the Nile Valley Languages, plus my book, The Language and Literature, Meroitic Writing and Literature, those two books will help you to become very competent. So get any of these books, buy my books, support me, learn more about the Meroitic people, learn more about our history, learn language, you see, because many people don't understand is that if you're going to be able to study our history, you have to, I'm sorry to say, you have to learn languages, When I first started trying to learn the ancient history of Africa, I was one of my basic aids being able to do that is that I had studied French in high school. And back when I started looking at this, studying this back in the late 70s and 80s, much of the literature about Black people in Africa was written in French. So by me studying French in high school, I was able to read the primary documents. And that's what it's all about, is reading the primary documents. If you want to understand more about the Meroitic Empire, take time, write down these titles of books that relate to the Meroitic Empire, and go to Amazon.com and order these books. Take a couple of minutes, write them down, and order them at Amazon.com. That's right. All these books can help you to learn the Meroitic language. Take your time, order these books. Order these books. Learn more about the Meroitic language and civilization. What is FBA? FBA is not a group. FBA is not an organization. FBA is a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestor, ancestral pedigree. As a result, we are descendants of the African and Aboriginal blacks who built the United States. Yes, yes, yes. We are B1. Yes, B1. B1 is acknowledging your black African ancestry and mod, not heritage. We must be race men and women proud of our culture and African black ancestry. Yes, yes. Granted, you see, our ancestors came from Africa thousands of years ago, but there's nothing wrong in terms of recognizing this fact, recognizing this reality, you see. The first Africans that came here, they came here and they carried what was called the YR1 chromosome. Yes, the YR1 chromosome. You see, they did a study of the Anzic baby, I think, skeleton. It's dated to 10,000 BC, and the Anzic skeleton carried the R1. Yeah, they give it another one. But when you really look at the data, the Anzic baby carried the R1. And do you know what? 22% of foundational Black Americans today continue to carry the R1 haplogroup. So that means, in a sense, that many of us have been here for at least 10,000 years, and that they're ancestors of the first Black people who were here. We're still carrying their genes. See? Because Black equals brilliant. B1 is being Black first. B1 is being Black and brilliant first. Yes, yes. We're Black and we're brilliant first because we're B1. B1, baby. The Gymnosophist of the Meroitic Empire. Ashoka was a king of India who worshiped Buddhism. Ashoka sent out edicts throughout his empire encouraging people to adopt Buddhism as a way of life. These edicts that he sent around the known world back in the day, they were written in various languages. Yes, yes, yes. My decipherment of Meroitic is based on the Kushana theory. The Kushana theory is that a group of East Indian Buddhist scholars introduced the Meroitic writing system to the Meroites. Yes, 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 yes. That is what we find, you see. When you read my book, Meroitic Writing and Literature, I break down how and when these people came here. And I also discuss the fact that, you may not know this, but many people in the ancient Sudan and Egypt, they were Buddhists. Yes, yes. Because we see Buddhism as a religion, when Buddhism is more of a philosophical way of living, see. And there were many people in ancient Egypt and Nubia who were Buddhists. The Kushana hypothesis is based on the following evidence. 1, that no African language has been found to be a cognitive language of Meroitic. 2, the classical literature says that the Kushites lived in Asia and Africa. 3, the Gymnosophists, or naked sages of Meroe, were Buddhists who came from India. The Gymnosophists were Buddhists. Yes, yes. But we know now that not only were they Buddhism, but Buddhism originated not in India, but it originated in Africa. Flavius Philostratus, the writer of the Vita Apollonia, Volume 1, claimed that the Gymnosophists of Meroe originally came from India. Given the fact that the Kushana had formerly ruled India around the time that the Meroitic writing was introduced to the Kushite civilization, led to the hypothesis that the ancestors of the Gymnosophists may have been Kushana philosophers. Yes, yes, yes. Whenever you're doing research, family, you have to try to, in a sense, have a theoretical base. You have to have a theoretical base, or you have to have a theory to guide your research. You either have a theory or you have a research question. But either one of these are used to guide your research because, see, if you really want to be a competent researcher, if you really want to be able to tell a story of some aspect of the past, you have to, in a sense, be able to stay on point. And the way you stay on point is by developing research questions. And you allow these research questions to guide you. You allow these research questions, in a sense, to frame how you're going to find out more information to support your theory or your hypothesis. Tamil Brahmi script were found in Egypt. Yes, yes. Here's a bowl. And this bowl, on the rim of this bowl, we see the Brahmi script. Yes. So we see, in a sense, the Tamil, a language that many people believe originated in India. We find that there were Tamil in Egypt, and these Tamil were writing inscriptions in their language. You see. I know a lot of times we don't want to really, identify with people in East India. We don't want to identify people in East India, and often we say because they have straight hair, they in no way could be related to other Black people like African Americans or Foundation of Black Americans or Africans generally. But I'm sorry to tell you this, but the Tamil language was originally an African language. And in fact, listen to this. In fact, up to today, many people in Chad and Cameroon still speak Tamil. Yes, yes. There are many people in Chad and Cameroon. These are countries on the African continent, continue to speak Tamil. In addition to Philostratus, Heliodorus, in his love story, The Ethiopian, makes it clear that Gymnosophists had great influence in the Kushite Empire. The Ethiopians, Greek Aethiopica, a novel written by Heliodorus, provides us interesting information on the popularity of the Gymnosophists in Kush. The Greeks called Kush Ethiopia. At the end of the novel, Heliodorus wrote that, and I quote, "Here ends the history of the Ethiopian adventures of Theogenes and Chariclea, written by Heliodorus, a Phoenician of Amisus, son of Theodosius, and descendant from the sun. This indicates that Heliodorus was Black, since he says he was descendant from the sun." Yes, we're sun people. And one of the reasons that they say that Black people are sun people is that the sun is the greatest expression of the power of the Creator. Yes, yes. The sun gives life, and so then therefore the original man, in a sense, were people of the sun, because it's via the sun that we have civilization, we grow crops, and it's through the sun, in a sense, that we have life and that we see, in a sense, growth and development. Heliodorus' Ethiopian, a love story set in Kush, indicates that Buddhism was popular in the Meroitic Empire. The Ethiopian is a love story about Theogenes and Chariclea. Chariclea was the daughter of King Hydaspes and Queen Persina of Kush. Queen Persina placed Chariclea in the care of Sisamithras, who was chief of the king's Gymnosophist council. Sisamithras, a Gymnosophist, took the child to Egypt and placed her in the care of Charicles, a Pythian priest, who takes Chariclea to Delphi, where she meets Theogenes. At Delphi, the two young people fall in love. On their way back to Meroe, they encounter numerous perils, pirates, and bandits. Theogenes and Chariclea eventually meet at Meroe. When Chariclea is about to be sacrificed to the gods by King Hydaspes, the people learn that Chariclea was a princess, and the two lovers are happily married. Yes, yes. You can see, look at this. This is not just a beautiful love story, but a family. You can see how even the literature, in a way we should have known this, but even the literature, even the way love stories are written, even the way adventure stories are written today, they always go back to love stories and adventures adventure stories written by black people. See? Black people like you, black people like me, black people like us. What does this mean? That means that you have so much creativity. You just have to be prepared to share the creativity with the rest of mankind. In the Ethiopian, the gymnosophists had great influence among the people. You see? In fact, we know that in the Ethiopian, Heliodorus said the gymnosophists are the king's council. You know, that meant in a sense that the gymnosophists or the Buddhists, they had a very prime elite position in the Meroitic Empire. You see? This is one of the reasons why Buddhism was a prominent religion among the people there. And that's because the fact is that Buddhism wasn't alien to Africa. You know, I'll do a presentation on that. Buddhism wasn't alien to Africa. Buddhism originated in Africa itself. And the Ethiopian, the gymnosophists had great influence, you know. And then they went to visit the king's council. They were able to encourage Meroites to give up human sacrifice. I quote, "O king," noted the gymnosophist Sisyphus, "you should long ere now conclude that the gods welcome the sacrifices being prepared for them. Come, let us recognize the divine miracle that has been wrought and become collaborative in the God's design. Let us proceed to be the holier obligation and exclude human sacrifice for all future times." Think about that. Think about that. Back in the day, people felt in the sense that if you killed a human being, if you did human sacrifice, that was the best way to really show your allegiance to your gods. But we find that the Ethiopians, they wanted to stop that practice. They wanted people, in a sense, to recognize that life should be granted to everybody and that no one should take another person's life. No one should take another man or woman's life. So this, we see, in a sense, these principles, these humanistic principles, these principles that guide us today, they've long existed. But their existence was not in isolation. Their existence came from the fact is that we, in a sense, were recognizing the importance of our people, of our civilization, of our culture. You see, because the only way that you can be really honest, and the only way that you can really know the truth is you have to be able, in a sense, to look and really understand what our culture brings and what we too should bring to our culture. Because culture is dynamic. Yes, there's some basic things that make one's culture, true, and that's basically tradition. But culture can also be influenced in a positive way by people who want to be positive. At the end of the novel, Heliodorus wrote that, and I quote, "Here ends the history of the Ethiopian adventurers of Theogenes and Chariclea, written by Heliodorus, a Phoenician of Emesis. You see, son of Theodorus and descendant from the sun. This indicates that the Heliodorus was black, since he says he was descendant from the sun. If the gymnosophists were really well known as counselors of the Meroitic kings since Persian times, as noted by Heliodorus, explains why we find Kairos signs in Meroitic. The Buddhists or gymnosophists wrote their scriptures in Kairos. It was only natural that they would include Kairos signs in Meroitic when they created the new script to replace Egyptian. Because all the former Nubian civilizations, the writing system they used was usually, in a sense, ancient Egyptian. But the Meroites, in a sense, they created their own writing system, which we call Meroitic. W. Flinders Petrie found evidence of Buddhist colonies which he claimed dated back to the Persian period of Egypt. He wrote, and I quote, "On the right side, the top is the Theban Mongolian. Below that, the Aryan women of the Punjab. And at the base, a seated figure in Indian attitude with the scarf over the left shoulder. These are the first remains of Indians known on the Mediterranean. Hitherto, there have been no material evidence for that connection, which is stated to have existed. both by embassies from Egypt and Syria to India, and by the great Buddhist mission sent by Asoka as far west as Greece and Cyrene. We seem now to have touched the Indian colony in Memphis, and we may hope for more light on that connection, which seems to have been so momentous for Western thought. Yes, yes, yes. This is what M.W. Flanders Petrie wrote, you know. If Petrie's dating is correct, this puts Buddhism in Egypt 200 years before Asoka sent Buddhist missionaries to Egypt. Moreover, it adds confirmation to Heliodorus' claim in the Ethiopian that Gymnosophist served as the counselors to the Meroitic kings. Asoka was a king of India. He worshipped Buddhism. Asoka loved Buddhism, and as a result, he sent many people to spread the philosophy of the Buddhists around the world. Yes, yes, yes. Philo Judaeus, a 1st century AD contemporary of Josephus, described there are records from Alexandria that indicate the arrival of a steady stream of Buddhist monks and philosophers. They would surely have contributed to the philosophical speculations and syncretism for which the city of Alexandria was noted. In particular, it seems the original Therapeutae were sent by Asoka on an embassy to Pharaoh Ptolemy II in 250 BC. The word Therapeutae is in itself of Buddhist origin, being a Hellenization of Pali Therapeuta. So Therapeutae is, in a sense, comes from the Pali word Therapeuta, literally son of the elder. The Therapeutae, in his tract De Vita Contemplativa, it appears they were a religious brotherhood without precedent in the Jewish world. Reclusive ascetics devoted to poverty, celibacy, good deeds, and compassion. They were just like Buddhist monks, in fact. Yes, yes, yes. There are records from Alexandria indicate the arrival of a steady stream of Buddhists. Yes, yes. The Therapeutae, from the Therapeutae, it is quite possible a Buddhist influence spread to both the Essenes, yes, a similar monkish order in Palestine, and to the Gnostics, adepts of philosophical speculation. Philostratus, in the Life of Apollonius of Tyana, makes it clear that the Gymnosophists lived in Upper Egypt and the Meroitic Empire. The Gymnosophists were Buddhists. Yes, yes. I'm going to, as I said earlier, I'm going to do a presentation, I don't know, maybe next week or thereafter, in which I'm going to explain how Buddhism originated in Africa. Yes, yes. There were Gymnosophist communities in Upper Egypt and the Meroitic Sudan. The Gymnosophists used Tocharian and the Kharosthi script to write their scriptures. This makes it clear that Tocharian and Kharosthi were important means of communication for this Meroitic population. Tocharian was therefore probably a major language in Meroitic Sudan. Here you can see a comparison of Meroitic signs and also Kharosthi signs. Take a minute to look at these, and you can see how they're not just similar, they're identical. You know, in fact, there were many Meroites who were Buddhists, you know. Here we can see, this is discussed in Apollonius of Tirana. We can see, in a sense, the coiled snake and some monuments. We can see the god, you know, the Ethiopian god with multiple faces and multiple arms, like in Buddhism. We even find, in a sense, on this particular inscription, we find a woman who has, in a sense, the so-called, you know, the so-called sign of that we call a swastika, and the swastika was a sign that meant, you know, perfect and obedience to the sect or the order. So we can see, in a sense, is that you know, there was so much evidence of Buddhism in the Meroitic Sudan. So we can see in a sense that Buddhism was not unfamiliar to African people, that Buddhism was very much intertwined or made part of Meroitic civilization. The historical evidence makes it clear that there was probably 2 migrations of Buddhist gymnosophists to Egypt and the Meroitic Empire. Asokas was a supporter of Buddhism. Zacharias P. Thundi in The Buddha and Christ makes it clear that the edicts of Asoka indicate that the rulers and missionaries to Egypt to preach the Buddhist dharmas. Thundi maintains that archaeological evidence exists for a community of Indian sages living in Memphis as early as 200 BC. We know the descendants of these missionaries were still in Egypt over 200 years later because they were visited by Apollonius of Tyana. And you'll find that in Apollonius of Tyana by Flavius Philostratus. Meroites played an important role in Buddhism. Because Blemai, a prominent group in the Meroitic Sudan, as noted by Helidorus in the Ethiopian, are mentioned in the Pali text, Tipitaka. Tipitaka is a Buddhist text. Dr. Durant wrote that in early Pali texts, and I quote, "We have a Blemai, an African, in the front ranks of Buddhist texts of very respectable age. The Buddhist texts where Blemai were mentioned are very old. The Vinaya Pitaka is dated to the 4th century BCE. Yes, yes, yes. Don't get it twisted. You know, for years, people have noted that the Buddha was often, in a sense, the original Buddha had a Negroid countenance, that he had coiled hair, kinky hair, and that he was a black person. But we also can see that Buddhism was a philosophical outlook of many people in Africa, not just in India. If Blamir are mentioned in Buddhist texts, we can be sure that Meroites were not ignorant of Karasti. That's why, in a sense, the Blemai, yes, the Blemai, they are really recognized as an African tribe. Flavius Philostratus, the writer of Vita Apollonius, claimed that the Gymnosophists of Meroe came from India. Here we can see, here's an artifact from the Kushana Empire, and you can see, in a sense, that these Kushana, in a sense, they ruled much of India, and you can see their Negro. You can see their Negro faces or their black faces, you know. So it's so we can see, in a sense, that these people were black. There is external evidence to support my theory. A theory explains observed phenomena and has predictive power. I theorize that due to the claims of classical writers that some of the Meroites came from India, according to the life of Apollonius, the Indian, Meroites were formerly led by King Ganges, who had repulsed the Scythians who invaded this land, India, from across the Caucasus. Philostratus also made it clear that the Indians of Meroe came to the country after their king was clean. So we see this cognition. We see how these stories, you know, link up, and that the same stories that were reported, you know, in Indian literature, the Apollonius, were also, in a sense, relate to, you know, things that were found in the traditions of the Kushana people that lived in Africa. The lotus in Buddhism represent the purity of mind and body. The open blossom represents full enlightenment. Other Buddhist elements in Meroitic society was the footprint, elephant, swastika seen in Meroitic iconography, and the influence of Kharosthi on the Meroitic script. So look at this. Here we have, in a sense, the god of the Meroites, and you can see this god is coming out of a lotus blossom, and you can see, in a sense, how Buddhism was so connected to the Meroitic society. I'm gonna go into detail more about Buddhism in Africa, but not in this paper, but down the road. The swastika in Buddhism means good luck. It is represented on the stela of Matea. Look on that left-hand side. Here's the stela of Matea. Here we see a man and a woman, and if you notice, look on her skirt. If you notice on her skirt, we can see that swastika. You see, the elephant represented strength of the mind and gentleness. Finally, footprints are found in numerous Meroitic sites. In Buddhism, footprints represent the presence of enlightenment and represents the pilgrimage of the followers of Buddhism at Meroitic temples. None of these religious ideas and symbolism are associated with Hinduism. You can find out more about Buddhism in Meroitic in my book, Meroitic Writing and Literature. Yes, get my book, Meroitic Writing and Literature. Get my book. In summary, the classical literature makes it clear that there was a connection between the gymnosophists in Meroe and the Indians. The fact that historical events mentioned in the classical sources are found in the Indian literature confirm the view that there were Indian Meroites who could have introduced the Tocharian trade language to Meroites. Buddhist influence in Kush surrounds the worship of the Meroitic god Epidemic. At the Temple of Naga, we see the number of examples of Buddhist influence. Epidemic depicted as a three-headed lion god with four arms. Also at the temple, Epidemic is representing a snake coming out of a lotus blossom. See, here we have he's coming out of a lotus blossom. See the swastika? Okay. Again, the slides are going to be on my page. Are going to be in my Patreon. Join my Patreon. My Patreon is only $5, $5 a month. Join my Patreon. Please, in a sense, come back and look at all of my videos here on my YouTube channel, and you can order my books at Amazon.com. Let the researcher do the research. Be prepared. Learn how to do research and conduct research. This presentation was just to kind of show you that there's so much that we need to know, and there's so much out there that can really help us. Dorvell said, were the Gymnosophists worshippers of Aten? If not, which Egyptian school did they follow? No, the Gymnosophists were Buddhists. They were Buddhists. You see, let me explain that Buddhism is not a religion. I know when I was in college and maybe even the schools that you may have attended, they teach you that Buddhism was a religion. No, Buddhism was a philosophy. Buddhism is a way of life, So then, therefore, in a sense, you wouldn't really see Buddhism as as anything that's related to a religion. It's a way of life. How you doing, Carla Wilson? So again, I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. I hope you'll get my books on the Meroitic civilization. I hope you'll get my books on my decipherment of the Meroitic writing, and because see, this is knowledge. It's very important in a sense that we go through these numerous books and articles that can help us to know about our ancient past. You see, we're always waiting for the European to give us knowledge. We're always waiting for the European to teach us what we can learn on our own. And a lot of this, in a sense, if you're interested in the Meroitic language, if you're interested in my decipherment, get these books. These books will help you to see the civilization of the Meroites. You understand the general sophists. You understand how thoroughly entrenched Buddhism was in a sense, Africa. You see, what you had to understand, and what I try to, in a sense, help everybody to understand when you come here every week is that our ancestors were very literate. Literate means that they had writing. And because they had writing, our ancestors have always been leaving us stories. They've been leaving us written records. Often these records are in stone. They've left us many records to show our great civilization, show our literacy. But again, the European and some ignorant Black people, they continue to teach that Black people are just an oral people, that Black people didn't have writing, that Black people didn't in a sense have books. They want you to just always keep thinking about this idea that we're inferior to Europeans. You see, they want you to just think that the only literate class were the class of the European or what we call the white man. But no, we have a great civilization. The Meroitic language, they tell you is not deciphered. It has been deciphered. I deciphered this years ago, but they're not going to admit, oh, some Black man. You're going to say an FBA deciphered the Meroitic writing? You're going to say an FBA did any type of research? No. Only white people do stuff like that. No. Only white people are intelligent enough to be able to read these ancient languages. No. You too can do it. But you have to have a desire. You have to understand in a sense that as the doorbell tells you, as Dor-El tells you, we're brilliant. That's what the word Black means. The word Black means brilliant. We're brilliant. The only thing that holds us back is that we hold ourselves back for not having faith, for not having belief in who we are, what we are, and our ability to accomplish things. You have to, in a sense, have faith in yourself. And also, again, as I said earlier, I'm teaching my research class. Please join my research class. We meet every Tuesday. At 7 p.m. Central Time. And the class, in a sense, lasts for 2 hours. The class is $599. You can go to Gumroad. You can go to gumroad.com, look under Clyde Winters, and join my class.
Afrocentric Research Course.
You will learn how to interpret anthropological, historical, legal, genetic, and other forms of research literature. This is 30 hours of learning how to do qualitative and quantitative research methods. The course begins on April 16th. The class will be taught every Tuesday for 15 weeks. Join Dr. Winters' research class. Afrocentric Research Course. Become a researcher.
Our identity and our culture as Black foundational Americans. Yes. Wars between Black Indians and whites were manufactured to produce Black slaves for whites. The English, the French, and the Dutch provided the Native Americans with guns, rum, and cheap goods to purchase Native American Indian slaves. Between 1670 and 1720, many Black Native Americans were enslaved. The Black Native Americans were sold into slavery throughout the 13 colonies, Mississippi Valley, Canada, and the British West Indies. The majority of Black Native Americans sold into slavery by whites and Indians. Slave traders were the Choctaw, the Yamasee, and other Carolina tribes. Yes. Many of these tribes, like the Mandi, Mandinga, many of these tribes, we lost their names. And their names have been lost to history because of the fact, in a sense, that when the European came, as he conquered these Black Indians, he just made them slaves. And so over time, in a sense, their nations disappeared. Over time, in a sense, their history wasn't recorded. Over time, They were even able to deny that Aboriginal blacks even existed in America. They wanted to give our Aboriginal ancestors gifts. And the only problem with the gifts that they gave us was that often these blankets that they gave us carried smallpox, yes, diseases. They also, in a sense, gave us another gift, rum, fire water. And this rum caused an addiction among us. In a sense, it led to a demand for guns because it incentivized Indian slave trading. Yes, the first slaves sold in America were Indians, black Indians, selling other black Indians to Europeans to work on their cotton, not on their cotton plantations, their tobacco plantations, their rice plantations. Yes. We sold each other over here, just like in Africa, because of the fact that we failed to understand that we are one. We should be united based upon our identity and our culture as black foundational Americans. Yes. Reparations, baby, reparations. We deserve reparations. We deserve reparations like yesterday, not just today. No, not just today. We deserve our reparations. Give us our money, baby. Cut the check.
Cut the check, black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for resilience. Cut the check, black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for
The only thing that can save you is be one. Be one. Be one. To fight Cage, you must stay.